So we are here today with a rising junior. Oh my gosh, is it already? Holy cow.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, so Elizabeth Kiely will be a junior in the fall of 2020. She's a forward, a center mid,
Yeah, a little bit of both.
here to be, you know? Uh, and she comes to us by way of Severna Park, Maryland. And we're going to kind of let her tell us a little bit about her story, and I'll make a little fun of her and tease her about some stuff, and it'll be a good time. So, um, Elizabeth, take it away. Tell us, start with the start. When did you first start thinking about college soccer, and how did you initiate what you consider to be your college search?
Well, I mean, I was a very future forward kid. I was always thinking about what I wanted to do in the future, and I had it all laid out. It was like, I want to go to a school, I want to play D1 soccer, and I want to go to medical school after that. And I had it all laid out, and I was very particular about what I wanted. But um, I'd say, like, actually, as far as contacting coaches goes, I started around like sophomore year of high school, I want to say. And I was definitely still thinking about it freshman year, but like freshman year, sophomore years when I was going to all of the huge combines and all the ID camps, um, all the money makers. And it wasn't by end of sophomore year, I kind of had this shift in what I wanted. And it's funny, if you would have asked me this like a year ago, I probably wouldn't have admitted it to myself, but I was probably burnt out by then, like already. And I went through this crisis where I was like, do I want to play soccer? And since I was so like set on what I wanted, that freaked me out. It was like, I kind of went through this crisis and that made me question everything. So I kind of had that setback like junior year, I want to say. Yeah, so I kind of shifted back from going big school D1, and I decided I wanted to do small school D3 because I wanted that balance between athletics and academics. I thought it would be best for me and my personality. And let's see, by the end of like my search, I kind of narrowed it down to Bryn Mawr and another school in my area in Maryland. And a lot of people, especially at Bryn Mawr, I was watching some of the past interviews you had. They say like when they walk on campus, they had that moment where they're like, this is it. And I was really frustrated because I kept going to so many different campuses and I was waiting for that moment where I was like, this is it. And it never really came. And I wasn't really guided by emotions through my process. I was very like, I laid out all the pros and cons for each school. And it's kind of funny because once I narrowed it down to the school in my area and Bryn Mawr, I met with a professor at the school in Maryland. And he was the one who's kind of like, you look like you're stressing out way too much about this. And I was like, yeah, I am. And he was the one who's like, just let loose and whatever you think, like stop thinking about it so hard, pretty much. And I was like, okay, yeah, I have been thinking about things way too hard. And I was really stressed about it. And that kind of, that piece of advice is what made me want to go to Bryn Mawr instead of the school he was at. So
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, I was looking back through all the emails, right? And so October 6th, 2016 was the first time you reached out and said, hey, I saw your Bryn Mawr's registered for WAGs. Please come watch me play. And, you're with that really good OPSA Magic team. And I was like, that was a very like frank exchange. I'm playing this weekend, thanks. And there was a storm, so the schedule shifted. And you emailed me and hey, thanks, Elizabeth, and it went back and forth. And I was like, I gotta find something. I gotta find some dirt on Elizabeth. And I scrolled through it. Literally every email was this like very professional, very like to the point, just the facts. We're playing here, we're going there, and like there was one. It might have been. Gosh, was it your senior year? We'll get into how long you dragged this out on me a little later. But you were at the Empire Cup, up in upstate New York near Niagara Falls. And,
yeah.
So I send you this like, hey, buddy email. And I was like, yeah, like you're pretty much the only reason I'm driving from Philly to Niagara Falls, but hey, I'm going to bring the family. We're going to go see the falls after the tournament. And like, wasn't this nice of you to invite me? And like, so good for all the other kids at the showcase. And you wrote back literally like, thanks, see you there. And I was like, oh, kid's really excited to see me again. But I think like you're a very serious person in a good way, and you have this amazing creative outlet. You're a fabulous artist, but you're pre-med, and you have this, I think, very analytical mind and sort of skill set. How did you get through the weak moment when you started to feel burned out? Like, was that pressure of seeing other people around you committing or not knowing how to sort of get the result you wanted, and you were frustrated with that? Like, what had you frustrated, and then how'd you break yourself out of it?
Well, I think it was kind of mostly not knowing what I wanted. I was just kind of really confused that I didn't really want what I thought I initially wanted.
Mm.
And that freaked me out because I was like, will I ever know what I want?
That's a scary proposition, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, a lot of people on my team, there were people who committed pretty early, but we actually had a lot of people who committed pretty late with me. So that kind of gave me comfort that, everyone always says everyone, follows their own path, athletics-wise, recruiting-wise. So I wasn't really worried about the timing of things. I was scared I was going to end up somewhere where I wasn't happy, which obviously it turned out I am very happy where I am. So.
Oh, that's good. And then, like, I remember, so now I'm gonna really dump on you here, but so I remember a couple of key things. One, we had you back on campus in the spring of your senior year. You'd been accepted to Bryn Mawr through the regular decision process, and had always kept in touch, and like, you were very clear that Bryn Mawr was in play, right? And so we worked things out, and we had you coming back to campus, I would guess in April. I forget the exact dates, and it was you and your mom and your brother's girlfriend. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right? And so the three of you came up, and we did the thing, and we handed you off to the team, and I crossed my fingers and toes and hope things went well. And I had a cup of coffee with your mom. And what's your brother's girlfriend's name?
Tina.
Tina.
They're married. Yeah, so it's actually my sister.
Oh, wife. Excellent. So it's stuck. But the three of us sat while you were off, and we had a cup of coffee, and it was really funny because the two of them, this is my recollection, so we should have brought them in with you, and they could confirm this, but we sat there, and I was like, I don't know what else I can say or do to make it clear, like, how much we would love to have Elizabeth here. And both of them looked at me, and they were like, yeah, she needs to be here. Like, they were so done with you. They were so fed up. It was like, this was clearly going to go to the 11th hour. And I just thought it was interesting. Like, they were unwavering that you should be at Bryn Mawr. And so from that point, we go along, and at that time I was coaching an ECNL team with Justine and those guys on it, who are now your teammates here at Bryn Mawr. And I've been combined, like, I've been running around in PA watching like state cup games and recruiting. And then I had my ECNL games as well. So I was running back and forth, and I was thinking about this visit kind of, I think it was like April 28th. And I remember texting you from the parking lot before my game. And so hypothetically, if you pick Bryn Mawr, would you want the number 19, which was your jersey number with OPSA? And I hit send. And I sat there for like 15 minutes, and I was like, damn, she doesn't have her phone in her hand. And I had
I'm actually in a game. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I go down to the game. I got to coach the whole game, the whole thing. And I come back to the car, and like nervous the whole time. And sitting for me was a text, and you were like, well, actually, it's not hypothetical anymore. And yes, I would like the number 19. Does that sound familiar? Is that?
Oh, yeah. That's like an iconic thing now. Even like Justine and Hummel know it too. They know it by heart. Like.
So I love that story. I'm still a little mad at you for dragging it out that late, but I think
It felt like everyone knew I was going to Bryn Mawr before I did. It was like excruciating for everyone around me.
Yeah. Well, it's tough, right? Because you have people who advise you and you trust them, but you have to know your own mind. And you have to make your own decision. But I think that's easily one of those stories that I always chuckle about, because it was like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Elizabeth. I sent that text and I was like, the hell with her. Like, if she doesn't want this, like, I'm done. I'm out. I was like, I was at the end, and so like when I came back and I, you know, got such a happy text, I was like,
Like a return on
I
investment
had
there.
nothing left. Like, if you hadn't answered that text, I was out. I was like, nothing more to do.
Yeah.
So I'd say we're off to a pretty good start here, halfway through your career, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um, Sorry, say that again. It skipped.
I just said I definitely ended up at the right place.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but you were meticulous and thoughtful, and when you made your decision, I think you were very sure about the decision, which is all the difference in the world. You know, if you're uncertain about your choice, no matter what that choice is, I think you're liable to second guess it later. Is there any other advice, any other thoughts that you would share with, you know, a high school student watching this video and thinking about their own path?
I mean, there's the typical everyone follows their own path and you shouldn't be worried about timing. Obviously, I'm an interesting case because I started really early and I also ended very late. So starting early or starting late isn't necessarily going to change how fast or how slow you get recruited. I think it's a matter of finding out what you want and then acting with that. In my case, it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted, but in the end, it all worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's great advice, right? Because you have time, so you can use as much of that time as you want, or as little of that time as you want, and you know, when you know, and yeah, I think I think you're a great example of the options that are out there for students. So, well, cool. Well, I mean, that's all I got for you. So I want to thank you for taking a little time out of your summer vacation now that you're done with the term. And it was great chatting with you. I'm going to keep you online here after I hit end on the recording. But just want to thank you again, Elizabeth, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.